You know, I was reading this article today, she said, twirling her fork through a tangle of linguine. And it turns out that open marriages are actually making a comeback. Like, in real marriages. With kids. Mortgages. All of it. I didn't respond. I just watched her mouth move as the words rolled out. Casual, as if she were talking about changing shampoos or adding oat milk to her coffee order. She lifted her wine glass and took a slow sip, her eyes scanning me above the rim like she was studying a painting, meant to be admired, not understood. Some couples actually claim it saved their marriage. That's when I finally spoke. Saved it from what exactly? Dana shrugged. Boredom? Monotony? The slow crawl toward resenting the same face every morning. The thing is, I could have laughed. Hell, maybe I should have. I think that's what she expected. Some awkward chuckle, a dismissive shake of the head, maybe a sarcastic, sure, let's draft the rules now. But instead, I sat still, my hand tightening around my whiskey glass like it could anchor me to the floor. I'd been married to Dana for 17 years. 17 years of shared calendars, kids' recitals, Christmas parties, and late-night grocery runs. And suddenly, she wanted. What? Permission to sleep with other men? She didn't say it right away. Of course not. She danced around it like it was a clever social experiment, something she read in a column written by people who lived in Manhattan penthouses and drank cocktails with herbs in them. Modern couples are exploring new boundaries, she said, voice light. I mean, you see how miserable some of our friends are. All the secrecy, the midlife affairs. Wouldn't it be better if we just told the truth? I stared at the candle between us. It flickered like it knew something I didn't. Truth? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The truth is, you want to sleep with someone else. She blinked, then smiled. Not sweetly. Not kindly. No, this was that smug little tilt of her mouth I'd seen her give realtors, baristas, and dry cleaning clerks she didn't think measured up. That's not what I said. But it's what you meant. Dana reached across the table and laid her hand on mine. Her nails painted a dark maroon that matched her lipstick. Jack, don't be dramatic. I love you. I'm just saying, maybe we don't have to pretend we're the same people we were when we got married. Maybe we allow some breathing room. Breathing room. I repeated, cold rising in my chest. And what does that look like? She leaned back, cradling her wine glass again. Just honesty. If I met someone and felt a spark, I could explore that. And you could too. No lies. No sneaking around. Total transparency. I took a long drink and let the silence stretch. She hated silence. She always filled it with noise, opinions, or plans. This time, though, she waited. And then she laughed. A breathy, tipsy sort of laugh that curled around me like smoke. God, you should see your face, she said, reaching for her napkin and dabbing at invisible wine on her lips. Relax. It's not like I'm saying we have to do anything. It's just a conversation. I still didn't say a word. Dana tilted her head, the smile curling deeper. Hell, you can even try my sister if you want. She's always had a thing for you. I stared at her then, not just at the makeup, the expertly curled blonde hair, the necklace I bought her 3 anniversaries ago, but through her. She thought she was joking. Or maybe she didn't. Maybe this was the test. Poke the bear and see if it growls or just rolls over. She's married, I said quietly. Dana shrugged. Unhappily, from what I hear. Besides, it's just a joke. But it didn't feel like one. Because in that moment, with her laughter still hanging in the air and the smell of garlic and overpriced wine between us, something broke inside me. I wasn't some Puritan. I knew people changed. I knew marriages evolved. But this wasn't evolution. This was detonation. Our kids were at home. Ellie probably falling asleep with her science book open. Max glued to his PS5, half a bag of chips in his lap. And here was their mother, tossing out the idea of casual sex with strangers, of me fucking her sister, like it was a game. Dana reached for her phone when it buzzed, her eyes lighting up. She didn't even bother hiding the smile. I watched her thumbs move over the screen, fast and practiced. Is this why you've been distant? I asked. Why you've been spending more time out? She set the phone down slowly. Jack, come on. Don't turn this into some kind of interrogation. I've just been thinking. Exploring. I haven't done anything wrong. Yet. She didn't say it, but it lingered there between us. I pushed my chair back, the legs screeching against the hardwood. I'm going to bed. She blinked, startled. Now? Dinner's not even. Yeah, I said. I'm full. I left her at the table, the candle between us still flickering. She laughed again, faint and nervous. Don't tell me you're actually upset. Jack, come on. I was kidding about my sister. But I wasn't smiling. Because in my chest, beneath the rage and the hurt, something else began to simmer. Not revenge. Not yet. But something close. I barely slept that night. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, while Dana scrolled on her phone next to me. At some point, the light from her screen flicked off, and she turned on her side, sighing once, then falling into the kind of deep, peaceful sleep that only someone who doesn't give a damn can manage. Meanwhile, I was choking on the echo of her voice. You can even try my sister if you want. She'd said it with that smug little grin, the one that always came out when she wanted to push boundaries. The laugh afterward, the dismissive, airy flutter, was supposed to make it harmless. But it didn't. Not to me. Not to a man who, after 17 years of monogamy, sacrifice, and loyalty, was now expected to smile while his wife publicly fantasized about sleeping around. The next morning, Dana kissed me on the cheek, acting like nothing had happened. Her lips barely grazed my skin. She smelled like citrus shampoo and indifference. I'll be out late tonight, she said, grabbing her handbag from the chair. Don't wait up. My voice caught in my throat. Out where? She paused. Just a second too long. Drinks with some girls from work, she said, then smiled. But if I meet someone exciting, I'll let you know. Another joke, right? She laughed, winked, and walked out the door. That was the moment I realized something inside me had shifted. My anger wasn't sharp anymore. It had cooled into something slower, thicker, like oil bubbling beneath the surface. The next day, her sister showed up. Emily. We weren't especially close, but there was always a natural warmth between us. She was younger than Dana by 4 years, divorced, no kids. More grounded. Less venomous. She came by to drop off some books for Ellie, science fiction novels she thought my daughter would love. I opened the door, and there she stood in jeans and a pale yellow sweater, her auburn hair up in a loose bun, sunglasses perched on her head. Her face lit up when she saw me. Hey, Jack, she said. Didn't know you'd be home. Works remote today, I lied. Truth was, I just didn't feel like leaving the house. She smiled. Good timing. Ellie wanted me to bring these by. She stepped inside and started unpacking a canvas tote. As she spoke, I watched her lips move. Watched the way she tucked her hair behind her ear. It was strange, surreal even, because for the first time in all the years I'd known Emily, I actually saw her. Not as Dana's sister. Not as family. But as a woman. A woman who looked at me when she talked. A woman who smiled without a smirk attached. A woman who hadn't, just days earlier, floated the idea of fucking strangers as a marital solution. You okay? She asked, glancing up. I blinked. Yeah, just tired. She studied me for a second, then tilted her head. Is it Dana? I hesitated. Her brow furrowed. You don't have to say anything. I know things have been off. She hasn't exactly been subtle about it. That surprised me. You noticed? Emily gave a dry laugh. Everyone has. Last Christmas dinner, she couldn't go 10 minutes without checking her phone. I think she forgot she was sitting next to her husband. I exhaled. Thanks. She touched my arm gently. You don't deserve that, Jack. The room suddenly felt warmer. Her hand lingered longer than necessary before she pulled away and stacked the books neatly on the coffee table. Ellie's gonna love these. I nodded, trying not to look too long at the gentle curve of her waist as she turned. There was a pause. Then she said, Anyway, I should go. I walked her to the door. She turned to say goodbye, and I caught her eyes just as she glanced at me again, searching, curious. It lasted only a second, but it was enough. Something passed between us. Something dangerous. Something new. That night, I waited for Dana to come home. It was almost midnight when I heard the garage door. She walked in humming, a little off-key, her heels clacking on the hardwood floor. Long night? I asked. She jumped. Didn't think you'd be up. Didn't think you were coming home. She gave me a look. Are we still doing this passive-aggressive thing? I didn't respond. She crossed her arms. You're mad. I get it. But you can't say I blindsided you. We've been drifting for a while. You blindsided me by laughing in my face, I said quietly. By turning our marriage into a goddamn joke. Dana's expression flattened. Oh, come on, Jack. It was a comment. A joke. I didn't mean for you to take it so seriously. You mentioned your sister, Dana. Yeah, as a joke. Jesus. I leaned forward. What if I took you up on it? That stopped her. What? What if I fucked Emily? I said, eyes locked on hers. Would it still be funny? Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. For a moment, the mask cracked. Just a sliver. Just enough. You wouldn't, she said finally. Her voice low. Threatening. Why not? You told me I could. I was joking. Were you? I asked. Because you seemed dead serious about exploring your options. Dana didn't answer. She just stared at me, jaw clenched. And in that silence, something crystallized inside me. She thought I wouldn't do it. That was the real joke to her. I was predictable. Safe. Boring. The steady guy who showed up, paid the bills, kissed her goodnight, and ignored the red flags. She never saw me as dangerous. Not even now. But maybe she should. I laid in bed that night staring at the ceiling again. But this time, I wasn't seething. I was considering. Because somewhere between her wine-fueled laughter and her not-so-subtle excuses, Dana had given me permission. Whether she meant to or not. She had opened a door and dared me to walk through it. And now I was wondering what it would feel like to step through. Not for revenge. Not yet. But maybe just to see what was on the other side. I didn't plan for it to happen. Not consciously. But when Dana left town that weekend, for what she claimed was a wellness retreat, with coworkers, something inside me clicked. She barely kissed me goodbye. Didn't even ask about the kids' schedules or how Max was getting to practice. Just tossed a designer duffel over her shoulder, flashed a distracted smile, and said, "Don't wait up for me Sunday night, either." The door shut behind her, and the silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was hollow and familiar. That night, I stood in the kitchen nursing a bourbon, staring at the empty dining table where we'd once had Friday night dinners as a family. The one Dana used to decorate with candles and laughter before it all dried up into takeout containers and glowing screens. I couldn't stop hearing her voice. "You can even try my sister if you want." The thought still buzzed under my skin like a trapped bee. I wasn't naive. Dana had probably already started trying someone. I could see it in the subtle upgrades, the way she dressed, the careful way she applied her makeup now, the sudden gym obsession, the untouched salad bowls when we used to eat steak, the flirty, saccharine voice when she was on the phone and thought I wasn't listening. And I knew, deep down, that she didn't expect me to do anything in return. But Emily was different. The following morning, Ellie reminded me that her science fair materials were still at her aunt's place. Something about glitter paint and a solar system diorama they were working on together. "Can you drive me over to Annie M's?" she asked. She said she'd be home all day. And just like that, the door cracked open. When we arrived, Emily greeted us in leggings and a faded college hoodie. Her hair was damp, piled loosely on her head, cheeks flushed like she'd just stepped out of the shower. No makeup, no performance, just Emily, warm and soft and real. "Hey," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Ellie, I've got the Mars stuff in the dining room. Go nuts." Ellie bolted inside, babbling about the rings of Saturn. Emily looked at me. "You want coffee?" I nodded, stepping in behind her. She poured 2 mugs, handed me one, and leaned against the counter, one hip cocked, eyes flicking over my face. "You okay?" she asked. I exhaled. "Do I look okay?" "You look like someone who hasn't said everything they want to." I let that hang for a second before answering. "You remember what Dana said the other day? About the open marriage thing?" Emily's brow twitched. "Yeah, hard to forget." "She meant it," I said quietly. Her expression darkened. "Jesus, seriously?" "She even told me I could try you. Like it was funny. Like you were. On the menu." Emily straightened, her smile faltering. "You're joking. I wish I was." She shook her head slowly, setting her mug down. Wow. That's messed up, even for her." There was a long pause. I didn't fill it. Then she said, "And what did you say?" I didn't laugh. Emily turned to rinse her cup. The room was silent except for the trickle of water and Ellie's faint humming in the background. When she turned back, her eyes searched mine. "Is that why you brought it up? You trying to, what, take her up on the offer?" I stepped forward before I could talk myself out of it. "No," I said. "Not exactly." She crossed her arms, waiting. I've been thinking. About how far Dana's already gone. About how far gone we are." Emily's voice softened. "You think she's already with someone?" "I know it." Her eyes flicked away. Then she laughed, but it was brittle and thin. I can't tell if this is a confession or an opening line. Maybe both. Emily tilted her head. You're serious? I nodded. I haven't thought about anyone else for 17 years. Not really. But now I can't stop thinking about you. Her breath hitched, and for a moment, she didn't move. Then she took a slow step closer. This is dangerous, she whispered. I know. She's my sister. I know. She looked down. You're still married. Technically, I said, but I'm not sure she is. The tension in the air was electric, charged, volatile. Emily was close enough that I could smell the soap on her skin, warm and clean and fresh out of the shower. I didn't ask for this, she said softly. I know, but I've wondered. For years, if I'm being honest. That stopped me. You have. She nodded, her eyes locked to mine. You were always steady, kind, real. I used to tell Dana she didn't know how lucky she was. My heart pounded. I don't want to be a weapon, Jack, she said. Or a rebound. You're not. Emily's eyes were glistening now, emotion held in check with a tight grip. I don't know what this is, she said. But it's not nothing. No, I agreed. It's not. From the dining room, Ellie called out, Dad, can I borrow your phone for pictures? Emily stepped back quickly, wiping her cheek as if something had nearly escaped it. Go, she said, before she comes in here and starts asking questions. I nodded, heading toward the hallway. But just before I turned the corner, I looked back. Emily was watching me. Her lips parted, a hint of something burning behind her eyes. That look stayed with me for the rest of the day. It stayed through dinner, through Max's grunting teenage indifference, through the quiet stretch of hours where Dana used to call, used to check in, used to care. It stayed even longer when I lay in bed alone that night, staring at the dark ceiling, knowing exactly what had just happened between me and Emily. Nothing had been touched, but something had sparked, and there was no putting it out now. I started watching Dana the way a hunter watches rustling in the woods. She didn't try to hide it anymore, whatever she was doing. Her eyes were too bright when she got dressed up to meet the girls. Her smiles too slippery when I asked casual questions. Her phone now stayed on silent, face down, and always with her, like it contained classified intel. One night, while brushing her hair in the mirror, she sighed dramatically and said, I met someone interesting. Just like that. No shame. No hesitation. Oh yeah. I asked, voice flat. Mum, she hummed. Cute, smart. Funny. Great in bed, too. I blinked. She met my eyes in the mirror, holding my gaze like she wanted to see how deep the dagger would go. Don't look so shocked, she said. This is what freedom looks like, remember? I clenched my jaw, trying not to bite down on every word I wanted to say. But I didn't speak. I just left the room. Because the truth was, Dana's words didn't hurt the way they once would have. They didn't sting like betrayal anymore. They just felt like a door swinging further open. And my mind kept going back to Emily. The next weekend, Dana left town again. Work thing, she said. Don't wait up. This time, I didn't. Emily texted me that afternoon. Hey, Ellie left her jacket here. Want to swing by? I stared at the message longer than I should have. I could have sent Max. I could have said I'd grab it Monday. But I didn't. 20 minutes later, I was knocking on Emily's door with a tight chest and a mind racing in every direction but out. She answered barefoot, in yoga pants and a loose tank, the kind that clung gently to her curves and slid off one shoulder. Her hair was half up, a pencil holding it in place. Hey, she said, smile tugging at her lips. I swallowed. Hey, come in. I stepped inside. The house smelled like vanilla and clean linen. Calming. Nothing like the cologne-drenched chaos of my own home lately. I've got her jacket in the laundry room, Emily said, leading me through. I just washed it. Kid's been rolling in grass like a puppy. She handed it over, then hesitated. You want to stay for a bit? She asked. I was about to make tea. My silence answered for me. We sat on the couch, mugs in hand, a safe distance between us, but with an air so thick it was hard to breathe. You holding up okay? She asked. Trying. She nodded. Dana's really doing it, huh? Just out there. She's not hiding it. She wants you to react. I'm not giving her the satisfaction. Emily looked at me for a long second. Then she set her mug down and leaned back on the couch, tucking one leg under her. I can't believe she said that about me, she said. Like I was just a suggestion. She was testing me. And what did you do? I failed, probably. She smiled faintly. You didn't fail. I looked at her then. really looked. The way her collarbone curved gently into her neck, the way the fabric hugged her hips. She wasn't trying to be seductive. That's what made it worse. It was effortless, natural, magnetic. Our knees were almost touching. "You keep looking at me like that," she said, voice quiet. "And I'm going to do something I probably shouldn't." The words sat between us, heavy. "What if I want you to?" Emily let out a shaky breath. "Then you're more dangerous than I thought." I moved an inch closer, barely. The heat from her skin was pulsing against mine. "I haven't felt seen in years," I said. "I haven't felt wanted." She looked down. "You are. I've wanted to say that for a long time." "Why didn't you?" "Because you were hers." Her voice broke on the last word, and for a second, I hated Dana with a depth I hadn't felt until now. I reached out and touched her hand. Her fingers closed around mine. And then it happened, slowly, like gravity pulling two planets together. Our faces moved closer. Our breathing synced. The space between our mouths narrowed until it vanished entirely. The kiss wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was a collision. Hot. Sharp. Desperate. She gripped the front of my shirt as I pulled her in, our mouths crashing together with years of buried tension. Her body molded into mine, legs tangled, hands roving. Her breath hitched as I grazed her neck with my lips, her fingers knotting in my hair. But then, just as quickly, she broke away. "Jack," she whispered, eyes wide, chest heaving. "I know. I can't. Not like this. Not yet." I nodded, forehead against hers. "I don't want to ruin you." She cupped my face. "You couldn't." We sat like that for a while, tangled but still, the taste of the kiss still buzzing on our lips. Eventually, I stood, adjusting myself as subtly as I could. I should go. She didn't argue, just walked me to the door, her fingers brushing mine one last time. And as I stepped into the night air, something inside me shifted. This wasn't a game anymore. This wasn't some sick revenge fantasy. Emily wasn't a pawn. She was becoming the only part of this broken world that felt whole. And I knew, deeply, that no matter how hard we tried, the tension between us had reached a point of no return. Dana got home late the next night, smelling like hotel soap and cheap perfume. She didn't even look at me when she walked past, pulling her suitcase behind her. I didn't ask questions, because I didn't care where she'd been. My mind wasn't on her anymore. It was on the woman whose lips I could still taste. The woman who didn't belong to me. Not yet. Family gatherings always brought a certain chaos with them. Voices talking over one another, half-empty wine glasses littering countertops, Ellie running around with frosting on her nose, Max glued to his phone in some corner with Wi-Fi. Dana, naturally, arrived late. She floated in wearing something low-cut, bright red, and far too fitted for a backyard barbecue hosted by her own parents. She made sure everyone saw her, then ignored me completely. But Emily? Emily saw me. She always did. She wore a soft blue sundress that moved when she walked, tied loosely at the waist, neckline just modest enough to tease. She didn't put on a show. She didn't need to. Her warmth was effortless, laughing with the kids, helping her mom with the potato salad, brushing hair from her eyes as the wind kicked up. The tension between us was unbearable. I could feel her from across the yard, like gravity, like static electricity, pulling tight across the space between us. Every time our eyes met, it was like something caught in both our throats. "Need a refill?" she asked, holding up the half-empty bottle of beer I was nursing. "Sure." We walked toward the cooler together, careful not to brush arms. But God, I wanted to. The air between us was taut, full of all the words we hadn't said and the kiss we hadn't forgotten. As we knelt by the cooler, she leaned in, her voice low. "I can't keep pretending that didn't happen." I looked at her. "Neither can I." Her eyes flicked to the house, then back to mine. "Come inside for a second. I need to show you something." It was thin, a flimsy excuse. But I followed. Inside, the noise of the family dimmed. The hum of the refrigerator, the click of the old ceiling fan, the faint echo of laughter outside. It all faded as we stepped into the cool, quiet kitchen. She turned and looked at me like she was done holding anything back. "I meant what I said," she whispered. "So did I?" Her hand hovered at her side, unsure. Mine found it. The moment we touched, something broke. She surged forward, and I caught her, our mouths crashing again like waves slamming against rock. This wasn't curiosity anymore. This wasn't fantasy. This was heat. Need. weeks of tension snapping all at once. Her fingers slid up the back of my neck, tugging me deeper, hungrier. My hands gripped her waist, pulling her into me until there wasn't an inch of space left. She moaned softly against my lips, her breath hot, her body trembling. "I've wanted this," she gasped. "More than I ever should have." "I don't care," I whispered. "I don't care anymore." We stumbled backward into the guest room, her parents' old study, and used now except for holidays. The blinds were drawn, the door only half closed. But none of it mattered. Her hands were under my shirt. Mine were in her hair, her dress, her skin. We moved like we'd been waiting for this since the beginning of time. Our mouths never left each other. The smell of her, the warmth of her, sent something primal firing through me. We collapsed onto the small couch against the wall. My lips found her collarbone, her shoulder, the curve of her neck. She arched into me, soft sounds escaping her lips, fingers clawing gently through my hair. "I'm sorry," she whispered against my ear. "God, Jack, I'm so sorry." "For what?" "For not doing this sooner." I looked at her, eyes locked, and we both knew. There was no turning back now. No more boundaries. No more pretending. When her hands slipped beneath my waistband and her mouth found mine again, slower this time, deeper, I forgot about Dana entirely. I forgot about every version of myself that came before this. For the first time in years, I felt awake. We stopped just short of the line. Clothes still mostly on. Buttons undone. Legs tangled. Hearts pounding. It wasn't about sex, not fully. It was something deeper, more dangerous. We pulled apart, breathless. "I shouldn't have started it," she said softly, lips swollen, hair tousled. "I'm glad you did," I whispered. Her head rested on my shoulder as we sat in the dim light. "I'm scared of what comes next," she admitted. Us, it's not going to be easy." I reached for her hand again. "What's easy hasn't exactly worked." She laughed quietly, sad and sweet. "She's going to hate me." "She already does," I said, more bitterly than I meant to. "She doesn't even see you anymore. You're just another person she uses to prop up her image." Emily sighed. "What about the kids?" That was the part that knotted in my chest. I hadn't let myself go there yet. I didn't want to think about explaining this to Max, to Ellie, but I also couldn't lie to myself anymore. "They deserve parents who are honest," I said. "And Dana and I stopped being that a long time ago." Emily nodded, but said nothing. We sat there, holding each other, not in the way lovers do, but in the way survivors do. Two people who had found something real in the middle of a wreckage. Eventually, we slipped back outside. The sun had started to set. The air had cooled. Dana was across the yard talking to someone's husband, touching his arm just a little too long. She didn't even look up when I walked past her. But Emily? Emily brushed my hand with hers as she passed by, subtle and soft, and the electric pulse it sent through me lasted the rest of the night. Later, in bed beside my wife, I lay still, eyes open. She was on her side, back to me, typing something into her phone. I didn't care who it was. It could have been anyone. And yet, for the first time in months, I didn't feel hollow. Because I wasn't thinking about her. I was thinking about the way Emily tasted. The way her breath caught when I touched her hip. The way she said my name like it meant something. I rolled over, facing the wall. There was no guilt anymore. Only anticipation. And underneath it all, one dangerous truth that I couldn't ignore any longer. I wasn't just crossing a line. I was falling. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, awake beside Dana, listening to the slow, even rhythm of her breath. It used to soothe me once, proof that someone I loved was still there, real, breathing, constant. Now it was just noise. A reminder of everything that used to be true and no longer was. She didn't suspect a thing. Or if she did, she didn't care. Around 2 a.m., I got up, went downstairs, and sat at the kitchen table in the dark, staring at nothing. My phone sat in front of me like a bomb I didn't know how to defuse. I wanted to text Emily. I wanted to say something, anything, that would explain the storm I felt inside. But I didn't know how to start. And more importantly, I didn't know where it would end. Because no matter how badly I wanted her again, no matter how good it had felt, there was guilt. Real guilt. Guilt that clung like humidity to my skin and wouldn't let go. It wasn't just about Dana, either. It was about the years. The history. The children. The life built on something that used to be good, even if that foundation had been crumbling for a long time. But that kiss with Emily, the way her fingers had gripped my shirt, The way her lips trembled beneath mine, it didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like rescue. And that's how I justified it. The next morning, I avoided Dana. She was in one of her post-weekend glow moods. Loose, smug, sipping on lemon water in yoga pants. Eyes puffy but happy. She hummed while scrolling her phone, pausing to smile at something only she saw. I wanted to ask who. I didn't. Instead, I took Max to football practice, then swung by the grocery store to grab a few things. That's where I saw Emily. She was in the produce section, staring down at a bag of oranges like it might bite her. For a second, I almost walked away. But she looked up at that exact moment, and our eyes locked. Her smile was soft. Sad. Hey, she said. Hey. She looked around. You alone? Yeah. Dana's at home, pretending she just got back from yoga. Emily let out a quiet laugh. I've been replaying yesterday in my head over and over. Same. We stood awkwardly between fruit baskets and old love. People walked past us without a second glance. I didn't mean for that to happen, she said. I know. I don't regret it, she added. Me neither. Emily shifted her weight, arms folded across her chest like she was trying to hold herself together. This isn't who I thought I was. I didn't think I had this in me, either. She nodded slowly. But she gave us permission, didn't she? There it was. The thing I hadn't dared say out loud. She opened the door, I said. You didn't walk through it alone. Emily's eyes met mine again, brighter this time. Still cautious, but not ashamed. We can't keep pretending, she said. Pretending what? That this is just some reaction, some heat-of-the-moment mistake. I stepped a little closer, close enough to smell the lavender from her shampoo. I don't think it was ever a mistake. She looked down. So what now? I don't know, I admitted. But I know I don't want to stop. Emily hesitated. I feel like I'm betraying myself more than anyone. I understood that. It wasn't just about Dana. It was about the kind of people we always thought we were. The ones who didn't do this. The ones who honored boundaries, even when no one was watching. But the truth was, I hadn't felt more like myself in years than I did with her. And maybe that was the real betrayal. Realizing I'd spent years pretending everything was fine, when it wasn't. We could have stopped, I said quietly. But we didn't. Emily looked up at me, eyes shining. Do you want to? My answer came too quickly. No. We stood like that, inches apart, surrounded by strangers who had no idea that the ground beneath us had shifted. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced down and sighed. Mom needs help with something. She always picks the worst timing. I'll walk you out. We didn't touch. We didn't kiss. But when we said goodbye, the way she looked at me made my stomach turn in the best possible way, like something big and dangerous and impossible was already in motion. That night, Dana was late again. She didn't text, didn't call. She waltzed in at 10:37 p.m., makeup slightly smudged, hair messier than when she left. She dropped her purse on the counter and gave me a half smile. Sorry, lost track of time. With the girls? I asked deadpan. She grinned, eyes sparkling with something she wasn't even trying to hide. Let's call it that. I just nodded. Good for you. She tilted her head. That's it. You wanted freedom, I said. You've got it. Dana walked past me toward the stairs, pausing only to say, Don't act like you're above it, Jack. You've probably thought about using that little sister clause more than once. I didn't respond, because thinking about it, that was long past. Later, in bed, Dana was already asleep when I checked my phone again. A message from Emily waited. I know it's wrong, but I haven't stopped thinking about your hands on me. I miss the way you looked at me, like I was the only one in the room. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed, You are the only one. Tell me when and where. She responded almost instantly. Thursday. My place. Come late. I'll leave the door unlocked. I put the phone down and turned off the light. And as the room faded into darkness, so did the last flicker of hesitation. Guilt was gone. All that remained was want. And the knowledge that by the end of this week, I would be in her arms again. Not as a reaction, not as revenge, but because I chose her. I told myself I wouldn't go, that I'd stay home, sit in the dark with my whiskey, and let the temptation pass like a storm cloud, that I'd wait for the guilt to catch up and turn me around. But by 10:40 p.m., I was already in the car. The roads were quiet, the kind of silence that dares you to think. Every red light felt longer than usual. Every empty sidewalk whispered questions I didn't want to answer. What kind of man are you? I didn't know anymore. But I knew what kind of man I wasn't. I wasn't the one Dana came home to anymore. Not really. Not the man she touched. Not the man she craved. I was just her placeholder. A name on a mortgage. A ghost in our shared house. Emily's door was unlocked, just like she said. The moment I stepped inside, I knew this wouldn't be like last time. She met me in the hallway, barefoot, wearing a silky robe that clung to her like it had memorized her shape. Her hair was loose, falling around her shoulders in soft waves, and her eyes, God, her eyes, were dark with the kind of heat that scorched hesitation. We didn't speak. She took my hand, led me upstairs. Every step felt like the edge of a cliff. And when she pushed open her bedroom door and turned to face me, I saw the final crack in the dam. "I don't want to think tonight," she whispered. I didn't answer with words. I kissed her, harder than before, longer. No pause, no restraint. Her hands were under my shirt, pulling it over my head. Mine were at her waist, finding the sash of her robe and tugging it loose. The silk whispered against her skin as it slid away, revealing nothing underneath. I stepped back and just looked at her. She didn't shy away. She didn't hide. She stood there, bare, breathing, beautiful, and for a moment, all the noise of the world fell silent. She came to me again, slower this time, her hands at my belt, her lips grazing my throat. We moved together to the bed, mouths never parting, hands exploring with a hunger we no longer tried to suppress. When we finally joined, skin to skin, breath to breath, it wasn't just lust. It was release. Years of silence, of longing, of being unseen. She made sounds I'd never heard before, desperate, breathy, raw. Her nails left trails across my back. Her legs wrapped around me like she didn't want to let go. And when she whispered my name, not in pleasure but in reverence, I knew it. This wasn't just sex. It was home. We lay tangled in the aftermath, her head on my chest, the sheets twisted beneath us. For a while, neither of us spoke. Our breathing slowed together. The weight of what we'd done sank in, but neither of us reached for guilt. "Does it feel wrong to you?" she asked quietly. I thought about it. "No," I said. "It feels overdue." She nodded against my chest. "I've never had someone look at me the way you do. I've never had someone see me like you do." She reached up and traced my jaw with her fingers. "We can't keep it hidden forever. I know. We should probably feel worse than we do." I laughed, a bitter, quiet sound. "If this is wrong, why does it feel more real than anything I've had with Dana in years?" Emily shifted to face me. "Because it is real." And I believed her. Every word. Over the next few weeks, we found a rhythm. A secret one, timed to the gaps Dana left in her schedule. Late nights when she was out with friends. Early mornings when she hit the gym before work. Texts turned into phone calls. Phone calls turned into rendezvous in her car, in my office, once even in a hotel she booked under a fake name. It was dangerous, but we couldn't stop. Every touch felt necessary. Every kiss reminded us we were still alive, still wanted, still human. Sometimes we just lay together, fully clothed, holding hands in the dark and talking about nothing. Other times it was frantic, clothes shed in seconds, bodies crashing together like waves in a storm. But always, there was feeling. Something deeper. Something that made me dread going home again. Because the distance between me and Dana had become a chasm. She didn't question the changes in me. If anything, she seemed smug, like she assumed I'd finally accepted her new terms. I'd stopped asking where she was going. I no longer stayed up waiting. We were two strangers under the same roof, living separate lives with just enough overlap to fool the neighbors. She had no idea I'd found someone else. No idea that it wasn't just about sex, that it never really was. Emily and I talked one night, naked under her sheets, legs entwined, wine on the nightstand. "What are we doing?" she asked. I rolled onto my side, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "Something reckless." She smiled sadly. "Do you think it'll end in flames?" "Maybe," I said, "but I'd rather burn with you than keep freezing in that house." Her eyes shimmered. "I don't want to be a phase." "You're not." "Say it again." "You're not." She kissed me then, soft and slow. And I kissed her back with the kind of hunger that doesn't just come from the body, it comes from the soul. The affair, by definition, was secret, but it didn't feel like one. Not like Dana's. Hers reeked of deception, lies, manipulation. What I had with Emily felt honest, even in the shadows. I didn't have to be anything other than me. And she didn't have to fight for space in a life that had stopped making room for her. For the first time in years, I wanted to wake up, to feel, to choose something for myself. And I had. Her name was Emily. And no matter what came next, I already knew. I wasn't giving her up. It was Emily's idea. We need to feel normal, she said, brushing her hair into a ponytail as sunlight flooded her kitchen. Not secret, not stolen, just normal. Normal, I repeated, skeptical. You mean like grocery shopping? No, she said with a teasing grin. I mean like funnel cakes and screaming kids and waiting in line to ride something that lasts 30 seconds. You want to go to an amusement park. I want to feel like a couple. That word, couple, landed heavier than I expected. Not mistress, not side thing, not sister of my wife. A couple, as if the world outside our stolen nights could actually hold us without caving in. So that weekend, I found myself standing next to Emily at the gates of Ridge Hollow Amusement Park, sunglasses on, baseball cap low, pulse hammering with nerves. Relax, she whispered, looping her arm through mine. We're just two people enjoying a day off. Nobody here knows us. Except someone did. But we didn't know that yet. The park was chaos. Children screaming, teenagers pushing past us, music blasting from nearby speakers. We ate greasy fries from a paper tray, laughed too hard on a spinning ride that left us both dizzy, and took selfies I knew we'd never post. At one point, she slipped her hand into mine as we wandered through the arcade. You haven't smiled like this in weeks, she said. You haven't let me. Her fingers tightened. Promise me this doesn't end with us just pretending it never happened. I promise. And I meant it. Later, we found a quiet path behind the Ferris wheel. One of those tucked-away corners where the crowds thinned and the noise dulled to a low hum. We sat on a bench under a canopy of trees, sharing cotton candy and letting the breeze cool our flushed skin. I could sit here forever, she said, her head resting on my shoulder. I kissed the top of her head. We might get arrested. She laughed. Worth it. Then she tilted her face up to mine, and I kissed her. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't stolen in the shadows. It was open, free, and that's when the world cracked. Her name was Mia, one of Dana's friends, the smug one with the high eyebrows and perpetual glass of wine in hand at every party. The one who always seemed to know too much, say too little. I saw her first, across the path, frozen mid-step, a large iced coffee in one hand, her phone in the other, and then the phone came up. She snapped the picture before I could even blink. Emily hadn't seen her yet. Mia, I muttered. She looked up, confused. What? Mia, I repeated. Dana's friend. Over there. Emily turned just in time to see her vanish into the crowd. She went pale. Do you think? She saw. She took a photo. Emily's hand slipped from mine. We need to go. The car ride back was silent. Not angry. Not regretful. Just heavy. Like the weight of 1,000 decisions had landed all at once. She's going to tell Dana, Emily said quietly. She probably already has. She took a photo. I know. Emily looked out the window. I was stupid, thinking we could just be in public, like this was real. I reached over and took her hand again. It is real, but it's going to feel a lot less real when your wife shows up screaming at my door. I didn't answer, because I didn't know if Dana would come for her first, or me. But I knew someone was about to burn. By the time I got home, the house was still. Too still. Dana wasn't in the kitchen, not on the couch, not in the bedroom. But the silence? That was unmistakable. The kind that comes right before the storm. Then I heard it. The clink of ice in a glass. She was on the back porch, swirling amber liquid in a tumbler. The same whiskey I kept hidden in the cabinet above the fridge. She didn't look up when I stepped outside. Good day at the park? She asked flatly. I stood behind her, hands at my sides, heart pounding. She sipped. Funnel cake? Roller coasters? Long walks under the Ferris wheel? I said nothing. Then she turned to face me, and I saw the rage in her eyes, coiled tight, waiting to strike. You want to explain why I got a photo of you with my sister, kissing like you were about to fuck behind the cotton candy stand? I opened my mouth, but she didn't let me speak. No, she said. Don't insult me with excuses. Don't you dare. Dana. She threw the rest of the whiskey at my chest. It hit cold, sharp, soaking into my shirt as the glass clattered on the deck. You told me I could, I said, voice quiet. What? You told me. Back at dinner. You joked. You can even try my sister. That was a joke. No, I snapped. It was a dare. You just didn't think I'd have the balls to take it. She stared at me, stunned. I was a joke to you, Dana. Our marriage. Me. You already had one foot out the door when you made that comment. Don't get mad because I finally followed you through it. With my sister, she screamed. She saw me. She still does. Dana's jaw clenched. You were supposed to be the stable one. The boring one who stayed. Now I get it. You were just biding your time. Waiting for a way out. No, I said. I was waiting for you to come back to me. But you didn't. Her lip curled. You think you've won something? That this is love? You're a fool. And then, quieter, bitter, she'll ruin you too. Just give it time. She walked past me without another word. And for the first time in our entire marriage, I didn't follow. I sat outside for a long time after that. The sun was setting. The whiskey still clung to my skin. But in my chest, there was nothing but clarity. The secret was out. The damage was done. There was no more pretending. I pulled out my phone. One message from Emily. She came to my door. Screamed. Called me every name she could think of. I didn't say a word. I just let her rage. I couldn't fight her. Not tonight. I typed slowly. It's out now. All of it. No more hiding. Her reply came a minute later. Do you regret it? My fingers hovered over the screen. Then, not for a second, Dana didn't come home that night. For a brief moment, I considered calling her. Not out of concern, but habit. Then I stopped myself. That version of us, the one where we pretended we still cared, was dead. Instead, I sat on the couch, phone in hand, the TV on mute, waiting for something I couldn't name. At 11:12 p.m., Emily called. She's gone, she said softly. Did she say anything else? Emily let out a breath. Plenty. None of it worth repeating. Are you okay? She threw one of my candles. Knocked it off the shelf. Jesus. I didn't stop her. Just let her get it all out. I think she needed someone to blame more than she needed answers. There was a pause. Then, she asked me if I loved you. My stomach tightened. What did you say? I didn't plan to answer. But then I did. Silence on the line. My heartbeat suddenly thundered in my ears. And I asked. I said yes. I couldn't breathe. Not out of fear. Not guilt. But because that word, yes, was the most honest thing either of us had said since this all began. You said it. I whispered. I meant it. I didn't respond right away. Just sat there, heart pounding, knowing everything had just changed. I love you too, I said. I didn't know how much until now. Another pause. This one heavier. She's going to ruin us if she can, Emily said. She wants blood. She can try. The next morning, Dana returned like a hurricane. She burst into the house with a fury I'd only seen in glimpses. Eyes wild, hair a mess, lips drawn into a tight, trembling line. You lied to me, she spat, slamming the door so hard the picture frames on the wall rattled. No, I said, standing in the living room. I just stopped telling you things you stopped caring to hear. She stormed toward me, jaw clenched. You told me you loved me. You built a life with me. And then you burned it down. I gave you freedom. No, Dana. You gave yourself an excuse. You never intended to play fair. You wanted me to stay quiet while you explored every stranger's bed like it was your right. And so you went for her, she hissed. My sister? You had the entire world, Jack. You could have picked anyone. She didn't feel like anyone. She felt like the first real thing in years. Dana's hands balled into fists. She's pathetic, always hiding behind me. She was jealous of my life, my husband, everything. You think this makes you special to her? No, I said, my voice calm. I think it makes me seen. That stopped her. For a moment, the anger dropped from her face like a mask. Behind it, something more honest. Hurt, confusion, maybe even regret. You don't love her, she said weakly. You can't. I didn't blink. I do. Dana stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. As if that phrase, those 3 words, had once belonged exclusively to her, and now they were someone else's. You were supposed to come back to me, she said. No, Dana. You were supposed to fight for me. But you didn't. You walked away the moment things stopped thrilling you. She backed away slowly, arms folded like armor. She'll destroy you, she said. This isn't love. It's a trauma bond. You're addicted to the drama. Or maybe, I said, I'm just tired of being invisible. It didn't take long for the fallout to spread. Dana told everyone. Her parents, my parents, her friends, neighbors, the PTA board. the barista at her favorite cafe. She weaponized every conversation, spinning a story where she was the betrayed, the broken, the saint who had opened her marriage in a moment of trust only to be stabbed in the back by her sister and her spineless husband. By Monday, I had 3 voicemails from her mother, one from her best friend Mia, and an awkward text from Max's soccer coach saying he'd heard some things and hoped everything was okay at home. The gossip burned hot and fast, but Emily stayed quiet. She didn't fight back. She didn't post vague messages or try to defend herself. She just showed up when I needed her, arms open, voice steady. "I'm not running," she told me. "If this gets ugly, it gets ugly. But I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me to." "I won't." "You mean that?" I stepped closer, took her hand. "I mean all of it." She nodded. "Then we'll survive this." That night, I stood in the kitchen staring at the counter, where the photo Dana had printed and left behind still sat. Me and Emily, sitting on the park bench, mid-kiss, eyes closed, lips soft, hands intertwined. Not scandalous, not obscene, but intimate, real, proof that what we had wasn't a mistake. Dana meant for it to shame us. Instead, it reminded me why I'd fallen. Not because I wanted revenge, not because I wanted excitement, but because I wanted her. Because I finally allowed myself to want something for me. Emily, the thing about destruction is that once it starts, you don't get to control where the fire spreads. Dana had ignited the match when she showed up at Emily's house. Now, it was everywhere. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Half the messages were angry, some from people I barely remembered, friends of friends, distant cousins, high school acquaintances who'd heard what I did. The other half were awkward attempts to stay neutral. "We're not taking sides. We just hope everyone's okay. Let us know if you need anything." I didn't respond to any of them. Because this wasn't about sides anymore. This wasn't just a messy breakup or an affair exposed. This was a rupture. Of family. Of identity. Of everything I thought I knew about loyalty and love. Dana's parents called. Twice. Left a voicemail the second time. Her mother's voice was cold steel wrapped in velvet. "You've humiliated our family, Jack." And Emily, well, she's dead to us. I hope you're happy with what you've done. Click. Max heard something at school. Kids talk, especially when their parents do. I picked him up from practice, and he climbed into the passenger seat silently. "Everything okay?" I asked. He stared ahead. "Did you cheat on Mom?" I swallowed hard. "It's complicated." "That's not a no." "No," I said. "It's not." He looked out the window, jaw clenched like mine. "Was it with Aunt Emily?" I said nothing. His breath hitched. "Jesus, Dad. I never meant to hurt you or your sister. You didn't just hurt us. You burned everything down." I gripped the steering wheel, guilt twisting in my chest. "I still love you," I said. He didn't respond. When we got home, he went straight upstairs, door closing with a soft finality that cut more than any slammed one ever could. Emily called that night, her voice small. "My mom told me to stay away from the family gathering next month." "She's serious?" She said Dana's already told everyone. Said if I show up, they'll make it uncomfortable. "You don't deserve that." "I know," she said, "but they don't see it that way. To them, I'm the traitor, the one who took something that didn't belong to her." "You're not." There was silence on the line. Then she asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Do you think it was worth it?" I closed my eyes, her voice playing like a melody I couldn't silence even if I wanted to. "I think," I said, "that if I had to choose between peace with Dana or truth with you, I'd still choose you." Emily let out a long breath. Then we moved forward. Together. Dana didn't move out right away. She lingered in the house like a ghost, pacing rooms she no longer wanted to live in, opening drawers she hadn't touched in months. She barely looked at me, but she looked at everything else. Photos, keepsakes, reminders of what we used to be. Then one morning, I came down to the kitchen and found her packing. Just like that. No warning. 2 suitcases. A duffel bag. Her coat tossed over a chair. "Where are you going?" I asked. She didn't look up. "Somewhere that doesn't smell like her." I didn't argue. She zipped the last bag and stood, eyes red but dry. "You know, I used to believe we were unshakable," she said. "I thought I could do whatever I wanted, and you'd still be there. You weren't wrong. I was cruel," she admitted. "But you were cowardly." "I know." She walked past me, stopping only at the door. She was always second to me. That's how she lived her whole life, under my shadow. And now, suddenly, she thinks she's won. I met her gaze. She didn't win anything. She earned what you threw away. Dana blinked hard, lips parting like she had something else to say, but nothing came out. She left without another word. And just like that, the chapter closed. Ellie asked questions later that week. She was too young to fully grasp the weight of betrayal, but old enough to sense that something in our world had fractured. "Why is Mom living somewhere else?" she asked at bedtime. I knelt beside her bed, brushing hair from her face. Sometimes people grow apart, and when they stop being kind to each other, they need space to figure things out. She frowned. "Are you getting divorced?" "We're working through things." "But you love Aunt Emily." The words made my heart stop. "What makes you say that?" I heard Max yelling. "He said you ruined everything for her." I sat down slowly. I never meant to hurt anyone. Ellie's eyes searched mine. "Is love supposed to hurt people?" "No," I said quietly. "It's supposed to make you feel safe, and happy, and seen." She nodded like she understood more than she should. "Then I hope you find love that doesn't hurt anymore." I kissed her forehead and turned off the light. That night, I cried for the first time since everything exploded. Not for Dana, not even for Emily, but for my children, watching the scaffolding of their home collapse while we all pretended we could still live inside it. Emily moved in 2 weeks later. Quietly. No big declarations. No shared Facebook status updates or pictures of us painting the living room. We didn't try to replace what was broken. We just built around it. One small kindness at a time. The mornings were gentle. Coffee. Shared silence. Her hand on my chest as I woke up. The kids adjusted slowly, resentment giving way to awkward acceptance. Max didn't speak to her at first, but one morning, I caught him asking her where we kept the measuring cups. It was a start. As for the world outside, some friends vanished. Others stayed. But we didn't chase anyone. We didn't justify. We lived. Flawed but honest. Together. And as I lay beside Emily one evening, her head on my shoulder, her hand resting on my chest, I realized something. Sometimes, we only find what we truly need by burning down what we thought we couldn't live without. And in the ashes, we get to choose what we build next. Spring came slowly that year. The kind of spring that doesn't announce itself. No dramatic warmth, no sudden bloom. Just a quiet easing of frost, one morning at a time. And in a way, that was how life started to feel with Emily, like a slow thaw. Not a fairy tale, but real, honest, steady. The dust had settled, and what remained was us. It didn't happen all at once. Some days still carried echoes of everything we'd lost. But most mornings, I woke up to sunlight on the sheets and the soft sound of her breathing beside me. And I remembered that peace doesn't always come loud. Sometimes it's just knowing the person beside you sees you for who you are, and stays anyway. Dana officially filed the divorce papers in late February. There were no fights over property, no custody battles. By then, the kids had adjusted to the new normal. We sat them down together, Emily and I, and explained what life would look like going forward. Ellie asked if she could still call Emily Aunt. Emily smiled. "You can call me anything you want, sweetheart." Max was slower, quieter, still kept his distance. But one afternoon in March, I found him outside, helping Emily repot a plant on the porch. He didn't say much, but he didn't walk away either. And when I offered him a drink, he said, "I'm good, Dad. Thanks." 3 words, but they felt like forgiveness. Dana, meanwhile, moved into a sleek new apartment downtown. Glass walls, designer furniture, close to all the things that kept her feeling important. I saw her once in the parking lot at Max's school. We didn't speak. She was wearing sunglasses, even though it was cloudy. Emily reached out to her once. A simple message. "I hope someday we can talk like sisters again." Dana didn't reply, but she didn't block her, either. That, I suppose, was its own kind of grace. The wider family remained fractured. Emily's mother still wouldn't speak to her. Some of the cousins sent cryptic, judgmental messages. The holidays were different, smaller, quieter, but not worse. Just ours. In April, Emily and I took a weekend trip to the coast. Not far, just far enough to breathe. We walked the boardwalk barefoot, ate fish tacos on paper plates, watched the sunset from the balcony of a tiny rental with sand stuck in the sheets. "I didn't think I'd ever get to have this," she said, sitting beside me, legs tucked under a blanket. "Have what?" "This kind of peace." I took her hand. "Me neither." She looked at me for a long moment. "Do you think we'll always be seen as what we did?" I knew what she meant. Not lovers. Not partners. But cheaters. Homewreckers. The couple that started with betrayal. People will think what they want, I said. But we know what it took to get here. And we didn't steal this. We fought for it. Emily smiled. I don't want to live in shame. You're not allowed to, I said. Not in this house. Not in this life. She kissed me, slow and certain. And just like that, the last of the shame began to die. A year later, we were walking through the farmer's market on a Sunday morning. Emily held Ellie's hand while I carried 2 bags of vegetables Max pretended not to care about. He had earbuds in, but kept glancing over when we passed the fresh-baked bread table. At some point, someone I didn't recognize walked up to me. A middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a camera around her neck. You're Jack, right? I nodded warily. I am. You're the guy who left his wife for her sister. Emily turned slightly, her smile fading. I stepped in. I'm the guy who stopped lying about being happy, I said, and found someone who made me want to be honest again. The woman blinked. Huh. Then she just walked away. Emily looked at me, her eyes wide with surprise. You didn't flinch. I shrugged. I don't owe anyone an explanation. She reached for my hand and squeezed it tightly. Neither of us said another word. We didn't need to. The house we moved into wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Every corner held something we'd chosen together. The coffee mugs, the plants by the kitchen window, the bookshelf full of titles we promised we'd read one day. There were still hard days. Days where Emily missed her family. Days where I missed the ease of being unremarkable. But then there were days where Ellie would crawl between us on the couch and fall asleep with her head on Emily's lap. Or when Max would ask for advice before a date, and I'd see them both looking at her, not like an intruder, but like someone they trusted. And I knew this was the right path, no matter how it started. Sometimes I think back to that night at the dinner table, Dana laughing, red wine in hand, dropping the line that would change everything. You can even try my sister if you want. She thought it was a joke. But for me, it wasn't. It was a door, a challenge, a crack in the wall I hadn't dared peek behind. And when I stepped through, I didn't just find revenge. I found truth, that I was tired of pretending, tired of being passive while my marriage became performance art, tired of keeping my head down while my wife sought thrills and told me to applaud from the sidelines. Emily didn't tempt me away. She caught me as I was already falling. And now, as we walk hand in hand through this new life, scarred but standing, I don't feel like a man who lost something. I feel like a man who finally claimed it.